the Boston Bruins, yeah, they got screwed last night. But I'm sorry, when it comes to being screwed, there are a few, I don't know what you would call
Yeah.
it, away from the St. Louis Blues in this series. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I get it. Like, this is one of those situations where, unless you're a hardcore, Boston, if you're a Boston Bruins fan, you're complaining about officiating, might be time to maybe sit that one out.
Yes.
Based on recent history. I love the quote that you just cited with the English soccer official. You see, I've looked at video review, because I think you and I are on the same page about video review. How far do we go back?
Yes.
And then at what point does it stop being sports and it turns into someone telling us what happened, as opposed to us enjoying the moment by moment reality that sports is supposed to be? I've looked at it now. I mean, forever, Jeff, you and I, and most of your listeners, I would imagine as well, have all grown up, hearing it's a game of inches. It's a game of inches. It's no longer a game of inches. Now it's a game of pixels. And we've seen that time and time again. We saw that with the offside in the Colorado series with Gabriel Landeskog. I think that anytime you open the video review door, you really are opening a Pandora's box, because it becomes, if this, then what else?
Mm-hmm.
And how far back do you go before determining whether there was, a clean play, no foul, no anything that led to a goal? Because getting to a quote-unquote clean goal doesn't necessarily happen as often as many people think. Like, hockey is one of those sports, and I've always maintained this, where if you just, we've always heard, call the rule book. If you just call the rule book, period, then you will have a penalty on every play. And then you will have two teams exchanging power plays, and then we'll have to have the philosophical discussion of how much 5-on-4 play are we willing to accept and still call this hockey?
Mm-hmm.
I.e., how many minutes of 5-on-4 do we want, and how many minutes of 5-on-5 do we want? Do we want 15 minutes of 60 minutes of 5-on-4? Is 20 minutes of power play too much? Is 30 minutes too much? Dare I say 40 minutes too much? Like, it's not going to be just as simple and clean as saying just call it by the rule book. That's a penalty. You have to call it. Otherwise, it's just going to be two teams exchanging power plays, and I don't know that I'm prepared to call that capital H hockey.
No, I'm with you entirely, and look, and I really believe this. I mean, I've got no reason to pander to anybody. I mean, I watch a lot of sports. I think these guys, I think they are the best officials in any professional sport, and I've said that for years because of the nature of the game. I think at the end of the year we end up arguing about maybe or worrying about maybe 20 calls, 25 calls. That's a pretty good percentage given the amount of stuff that goes on in a game that is just so fast and so confined with so many big players right now. And the other thing, and so coached. Like, it may be the most overcoached game in sports right now, and that makes it even harder for officials. It really does, because there's so many disadvantages, or let me rephrase that, Jeff. There are so many advantages to be had in an NHL game if you're a coach, and that creates an issue for people who officiate.
Yeah, and you know what? Overcoached, not just at the players level, but I would even say almost overcoached when you look at officials, crew chiefs, for the officials as well. And let me give you an example. I mean, so much of this is whichever way the wind blows. So we're going to see what the officiating standard is now in light of the botched Kelly Sutherland play from last night with the Tyler Bozak trip on Noel Acciari. If you go back to, the one that started it all off, okay, Joe Pavelski gets cross-checked by Cody Eakin and gets slammed into by Stastny, and right away the call on the ice after we see what condition Eakin is. It's the 5-minute and you're out of the game, and they score 4 power play goals, and all of a sudden San Jose is back in the game and very much back in the series. Then we realize, that was the wrong call. Then you fast forward very quickly, the Boston Bruins Columbus Blue Jackets series, and Charlie McAvoy, because all of a sudden now officials want to err on the side of, I don't want to make the call. Right. Where originally it was, it looks bad, we're going to make, now they want to err on the side of let's not make the call. So Charlie McAvoy catches Josh Anderson high, and it's pretty obvious, but maybe you didn't see it, you err on the side of caution, there's no penalty. That turns into a suspension. And you do wonder, I know that Stephen Walkom and all the crew chiefs, have a certain standard that they want hit, but at the end of it, this is still an interpretive game. Not everything is black and white is offside. Calling penalties is all very, very subjective. And in some ways, it's only human to either err on the side of caution or err on the side of allowance. And we've seen it within the playoffs where sometimes referees will be conservative, others will be a little bit more liberal with their calls. I do wonder what happened last night, how that bleeds, if at all, into Sunday's game where we might see the Stanley Cup handed out. And, to your point about best officials, it's 100% true. It's maybe the toughest sport in all of sports to officiate. And I always tell people the same thing. If you want to get a sense of what it's like, next time you're at a game, as the play is going on, run up and down the aisles or run parallel to the rink and try to call the game because that's what these guys are doing.